Hey guys, I'm back. My name is Katie Wilson, and I'm here to show you how to do basket weave on an ostrich egg. I promised I would show how to do this, so it's gonna take a while. Probably bore you to death watching me carve, but I don't know how else to do it. So basically, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to check your ostrich eggs for cracks in them. The easiest way to check them anyway. And then the only two burrs that you will use doing this is a 33.5 inverted cone and a diamond football. Those are the only two bits you're going to need to make this carving. And also I use Turbo Carver as my tool, and you can get them at turbocarver.com. And feel free to mention my name, Katie Wilson, and when you order it. And if you've already got the, he sells the whole system, or he sells just the tool if you've already got your air compressor. So just mention my name, tell him that you heard about his tool from me, so that way he knows that his tool's getting out by word of mouth. I've been using this tool for about 4 years, and it's a real workhorse. It's really light, it's easy to use, and I absolutely love it and highly recommend it. Okay, so with that, let me go into a little bit of safety. Make sure you wear masks like this when you carve. These are much better than the pink ones. They have a filter, they feel more comfortable on your face, and because breathing egg dust is very dangerous for you, so we want to go into a little safety mode before we do this. And also wear eye protection when you do this, because sometimes your bits will break and they'll fly off, and it has saved my eyes a few times with between egg pieces breaking off, shooting out, or bits breaking off and flying away. Let's see what else. Other than that, I guess we're gonna start, and I'm gonna turn this around so you won't be able to see me, and my tool might sound a little bit loud to you. I've been told that it sounds loud. Well, they are a little bit loud, but they probably sounds louder to you than it does to me on this end. So be forewarned. And then also, the reason for the mask, the egg dust is really bad for your lungs, extremely bad. So make sure you wear them. And so I'm going to turn the camera around here, and I'm going to try to keep you in view here. So this is a regular ostrich egg, and I've got just a little flashlight here I'm going to turn on, and I'm going to stick it inside the eggshell. Now, my room isn't completely dark, but it doesn't really have to be, because I can turn it and I don't see any cracks or anything else in here. Now, you will see some spots, kind of like, let's see, I think there's some spots in here somewhere. Maybe not. Sometimes you can see things, and it's going to be the membrane on the inside. Now, this egg here definitely has cracks in it. You can see that crack. Now, I have put this egg here. The reason it's showing up blue is because I put it in the Works, which is a toilet bowl cleaner, as an acid. And these spots here are just where the membrane is dried off on the inside and peeling back. But you can see the obvious cracks in it. So you know not to use this egg unless the crack might be, you might have a small crack right here, and if you're doing a pattern, you can work your pattern around that crack. So basically, that is the easiest and best way for an ostrich egg for you to tell whether or not it's cracked. For other eggs, you're better off soaking in water, and the water will darken the lines in them, and so you can see them. So here's my egg, and what I've done is I'm going to turn on my lights and everything here. So what I have done is I have carved, drew my pattern on, and I have outlined it with the 33.5. And I've started on it over here before for a different demo for my group. I do have an egg carving and etching group on Facebook. You're more than welcome to come over there and sign up. Just please answer the questions. So if you, and it says, hey, you heard about the group, just mention YouTube and everything. So that way I know that you heard about our group from here and that you're following me. So here we go. I'm not going to drag this on anymore. So basically, I've already outlined my pattern with my 33.5 inverted cone. So now I'm going to change over to my diamond football. And what I'm going to do is basically, this is just an illusion. You want to make it look like it's three-dimensional. So I'm going to take this down a little bit. Well, let me back up a minute. Let me explain how I did my pattern on. I drew my pattern on as I did each line going around it. And then I went through here and I drew 2 lines as wide as I wanted. And I skipped every other row. So that way I'm getting the basket weave. And then on the next line, I went in between the two and went every other line and drew them in there. So that way you get the effect of a basket weave. And basically this is just an optical illusion that you're using to make this. So you're trying to make it look like it's going under this part and then back up and over and then over this part here. So I'll try to explain as I go. So basically I'm just trying to take this away from the edge. And normally I would take away the shiny outer layer of the ostrich egg, but on this one here I'm not going to. I'm using it so because it's easier to demonstrate what you're looking at. So I started that in because I'm trying to make this look like it's going under there. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And then I'll kind of shave off the top layer. That is my air compressor that's kicked on. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of smoothing it out to get rid of the pores that are visible on this egg. Ostrich eggs have big pores on the outside of them. And I really don't want them to show in my final product. And I'm not wearing a mask while I'm doing this, because if I did, you wouldn't understand me very much. It'd muffle my voice too much. And I have the other noise you hear is my dust collector. Everybody needs to have a dust collector where it pulls your dust from your carving into it and filters it or sends it outside. Mine has been to go straight outside. So between that and my air compressor, it does get kind of loud. And somebody's asked me how long do my bits last. Well, I'm just using these 2 bits, and I know I can complete this egg with just those 2 bits and probably be able to use them on others. Okay, so I've shaved this off the way I want it. Now I'm going to change my bits, and I will constantly go back and forth and changing bits right now just to show you what I'm doing. Now I put on the 33.5 inverted cone. And my purpose here is to go straight, flat, up and down these 2 edges here where it's supposed to be, give the illusion of going under. So it gives it an undercut is what we call it, is an undercut. So that way it'll give kind of a shadowy effect to make it look like it's actually going under. And it sharpens up your edges. and it gives a little bit more dimension to your egg. And then I go back and I put on my football, diamond football. And if this isn't down far enough, because I want to smooth this out where it made that flat cut, I'll go back behind there and kind of smooth that out to where you can't tell that I've actually did that. It just makes it look like there's a drop off there. But I don't want it to be visible on this end, so I'm going to come back through and I'm just going to smooth out where that flathead went, but not too much because I want to give it a curved look going here. Now I'm not going to be able to finish this basket while I'm doing this short class because this is going to take me a few days to do. And when you get into egg carving, you can't go in here being impatient because it won't work. So I'll probably do about 3 different rows down from each other just to kind of give you the basics. And I'm trying to check and make sure I'm on camera too, so remember, it's just me doing this. I don't have anybody filming me. And you just use short strokes, light strokes. Now if you're doing this and you dig too hard, you're going to hear your tool bog down like that. That means you're putting too much pressure on, or you don't have your pressure PSI up high enough if you're carving and you can hear it stop like that. So as you can see, I make it stop there, but yet it's not stopping over here. You really want to be light-handed when you carve eggs. And you don't want your burr to stop while you're carving. You just want to keep going and you want it smooth. And I don't want to take off a whole lot of layer here, so I'm really going extra light. And if you're going to want to see pictures of the final product, you'll have to join up on the site, on the egg carving and etching in Facebook. And when I'm done with this egg, I'll post pictures. Right now I'm working on about 3 different eggs at the same time, this being one of them. But I started this one because everybody wanted a class on how to do relief carving or basket weaving. Which I do have other videos on the same thing, on a goose egg. And those are, you can't really do those like you can these, because the eggshell's not thick enough. But it's still thick enough for you to work with to give it an illusion, which is what I show there. So I try to smooth out some of my burr marks and the pores again. Again, I'm using the 33.5 flat side down up against the edge of this other part here, so I can make it look like it's going up underneath it. And I hope you can see that on camera as much as I can here in person. The in-depth part of that look. Because before I did that, it looked like they were still one piece. It was just two different colors. And that's not what I want. And then again, I'm going to come right behind that and smooth that out so it doesn't look like it's been cut off. And when you turn your egg sideways, you want to make sure you don't have a drop-off look to it, which I can see working on it from this angle better than you can. To where when I turn my egg sideways, I can see that it looks like there's a little bit of a edge here, and I'm trying to smooth that out to make it look like it's not. There is not an edge. Now this is where it starts getting a little bit trickier. I'm going to go to the next row. And I'm doing the same exact thing. Now I do hold online classes in the egg carving and etching group for beginner carving about once a month, once every 2 months. Just depends on how much interest I'm seeing from anybody in the group. And I try to cover everything anybody wants because I just like to teach everybody how to do this. When I first started carving, there was nobody out there that was willing to share this info. You had to pay for it. And between your bits and your tool, it gets quite expensive. And the eggs. I'm going to try not to talk when that's running so you can hear me a little bit better. Now I'm using a diamond football. That means it's coated with really small crushed diamonds and glued to the end of it. And if you see this color band here, that means this is fine. They're all color coded on the diamonds. Yellow is extra fine, which is really nice. If you can find those. Blue is a little bit rougher. See that blue? And then green is very coarse. And sometimes I use those to help take off the eggshell a little bit faster. Okay, and the 33.5 is a carbide bit. And I get these from USA Burrs or Burrs USA. I think it's Burrs USA. It's just a dental supply place. And it is carbide and it'll last a long time before it wears out. So again right here, I'm using a 33.5 and I'm going flat up against this edge to give it that look that it's going under. And then what I'll also do over here is I'll do the same thing. I'll kind of cut into it here in between these two to give it that look that it's going under here too. So that way it definitely defines the difference between those two. I hope you can see that on camera. Changing out my burrs again. Again, I'm going to go right behind myself and smooth this out so I don't see a shelf. I'll kind of round this off a little bit here too so it doesn't look so choppy. Yet you can still see the difference between the two places. I don't mean to bore you to death by having you watch me carve, but I don't know any other way to show you, because it's easier to show you than it is to explain. And I constantly turn my eggs. Now, I'm not going to do this, I'm just kind of giving you the basics on this, but when I'm done showing you this, I'll probably end up going back over everything that I'm already doing to make it more the way I want it, and to do finishing touches. But you're going to use the same technique on these guys going under and over as I am with these bands going the opposite direction. So you just have to use the same technique all the way around. It's just one's going to go one way, the other's going the other. And ostriches, man, they've got some huge pores in them. Some of them go pretty deep. And what I did is after I drew my pattern on with pencil, I used a really fine mist hairspray, and I gently sprayed my eggs, so that way it'll keep my pencil marks from smearing or rubbing off while I'm carving them. That's how come you can still see them pretty well. And I'll cut my edges out on the very last part. And I'll show you a little technique, a little trick to that too. When I get that far. Basically, like I said, I'm going to do about 3 rows here just of basic how-to on this. So that way you can pick it up and try it for yourself. Basically, it comes down to practice, practice, practice. And lots of practice. This is not something a person can master the first time they do it. So get those 2 edges. Now I'm going to come up underneath here. And I'm going to give it the same dimension. Now, notice I come from underneath. I'm not going from the top. again, that's be able to differentiate between the two. I'm giving a little bit better texture to it. You see, when I start taking this off, I'll curve it down right here, so that way it looks like it's going under this one. Again, smoothing out my cut lines so that there's no shelf. We want it to be smooth and rounded looking. And I can tell when I'm being heavy-handed because I'm leaving burr marks where I'm not carving. And kind of smooth this out just a little bit. Through here. And different people achieve this same look different ways. This is just the only way I know. I've only done 2 or 3 eggs like this, so I'm not a pro at it, but I know just enough to be dangerous. I normally wouldn't do this until after I've done that, just to make sure that everything's where it needs to be. But just for demonstration purposes on this one, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm just going to do a few more on here and walk you through how I would give it a little bit of a textured look to it. Now when you do your lines, you can measure them out with the measuring tape. I just freehanded mine on there, so they're not going to be the same. They're going to be, some's going to be wider than others, both horizontally and vertically. But I've never seen a perfect basket, so that really doesn't bother me any. But you can measure yours out, so that way you keep a constant depth to it, or width, or whatever, on all your spacing. And some people like baskets with the holes, and that's fine. I did not want holes in this basket, so I left no open squares. Plus, to me, those are harder to work with, because you got to make those square holes really square. And sometimes they can be a little booger. 2 more of these just to give you a 3-row thing. And I hope that's really visible as what I'm trying to do on camera as it is in person. And you can do all of one way first and then another way second and everything. I am changing out quite a bit just so you can see the actual progress faster. So that's the only reason I'm doing that. Or else I would normally do all of these lines first, vertical lines first, and then I'd come back and clean it up and do these lines. And you definitely don't want to go too deep here because I know ostrich eggs are thick, but you can still break through. Sure I'm still on point here. Try to scoot over a little bit. Sorry about that. Now, if there's any other classes that you want to see or need help with, feel free to message me, leave me a message on here. Let me know what you want to see. And if I haven't repeated it or I haven't already done it, I will do it again. I know some of my videos need remade. I'm getting the hang of this camera thing a little bit better the more of these videos I make. again, to give this, to make it look like it's more of a dimensional basket weave. Again, I use my 33.5 and I underscore between the top and bottom layers. So that way it gives the effect that it's going over. And then I'll go back through and I'll smooth that out a little bit. But anyway, the next part is how to make it look like it's got texture. Now I'm just gonna lightly, and I do mean extremely lightly, use the edge of my 33.5 inverted cone, and I'm just gonna scratch the surface in the direction I want it to look like my basket weave is going. And I don't know that you'll be able to see much of a difference in it on camera as I can in person. But I just use just real short, light strokes. Now this here, I'll definitely want to go up underneath the whole edge, because that edge is gonna go over my basket, so I can go ahead and give it some dimension here. But I'll just take and I'll just scratch it. And you don't have to be exactly precise with it, so. And I'm just lightly scratching it, so that way if I decide I don't like it or whatever, I can use my football and just barely touch up on it and get rid of it without it really hurting the final outcome too much. Remember, you can always take things further down. You can't put it back on. Okay, now I'm not sure if you can quite see that or not. It's hard to get a camera's view. And with the glare of the lights, I know it's really hard. But anyway, there's the general idea. You just try to make really light lines in there to give it a rough texture to it. Now, my advice when cutting this part out is, which I've already scored, I would score around deeper another time, and then I would take and make sure you cut through. I would probably change over to a 699, which is a it's just a tapered off straight cut, and I would probably take it off here on both sides of the handle first, and then take it off here at the bottom. But before you finish that cut, I would make a cut right here in the center all the way through. Before you even start the top part, put your piece of tape on here. and tape your egg piece to the egg. So that way when you, after you make that cut, you make this cut, and you're making this cut, well, unless you have your egg like this and cutting downwards, it'll fall out, which is usually what I would do. But in case you have to work from the top because you don't know any other way, this will help keep it from falling in so much. But it can fall in and break your egg, so you really want to be careful when you cut this out. And another thing to remember, never hold your baskets by the actual handle like you would a real basket, because they are very fragile. It is still an egg no matter what. And see, I've did some texturing work on this side here. I did a demo class in the egg carving and etching group the other day. So if I get enough classes done, I can have my whole egg done. Anyway, feel free to message me, ask me questions. And again, I'm using the Turbo Carver at turbocarver.com. So if you want to order it, make sure you mention that Katie Wilson sent you to him to buy this tool. And he sells just the tool itself if you've already got the compressor set up, or he sells the entire system. And remember, when you buy your tools, to consider the cost of the replacement turbines. Turbines can last anywhere from 2 weeks to, I've heard people have used theirs for years. And so mine usually last me about between 6 to 8 months, and I usually have to replace them. So it just kind of depends on how rough you are, what kind of eggs you're carving, and everything else, and how fast you run your PSI, how high your PSI is on it. So that's all I have for class today. Thank you for attending, and like I said, let me know if there's anything else you want to see, and we'll go from there. Thank you.